We had the baby December 10th. January 5th, he passed away from SIDS. I was the only one at the house. I had laid him down for a nap, and I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I guess I had fallen asleep. And I really think this is a God moment that he let me go to sleep, because my mom come home like 30 minutes later and walked into the room, and she was the one who found him.
So that it didn't have to be you?
So it didn't have to be me.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures. We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at, few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are because loved. We are loved.
My name is Sabrina, and for over 20 years I was in active addiction and the lifestyle that went along with it. After a few trips to prison and rehabs and an overdose, God finally met me exactly where I was at. And from that point on, he changed my entire life. He literally took me from death to life. And this is my story.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts. We are glad you're here, as we always are every week. We're glad to be here. And today we are going to make much of Jesus with another Jesus story, right? So we have with us Miss Sabrina Garth.
Hello.
Sabrina, I'm glad you're here. Her story is one of over 20 years caught in addiction. Took her through prisons, an overdose, and multiple rehabs, and thank the Lord, parked her right where she is today, which includes being in active ministry. And I'm interested in getting to that part of your story too. But as I always say, that's not where it starts. That's where God gets us. So your story starts where, though?
So I was born and raised in Biloxi. My mom and dad were married when, they had me. And we was just really poor, like really poor. Like when I was born into a trailer that used to be a shed, And when I was about 7 years old, I found out that I have two sisters by my dad that I didn't know about. And so they were actually living in Florida with their mom and stepdad, and CPS called my dad because their stepdad was molesting him, so they was going to send them to the next, their father, original father. So me and my mom, I think my mom knew already, but I didn't know. I was just told I have two older sisters, and we went to go meet them a couple times, and then they moved in. Well, they was taken for one.
Were they much older than you?
Yes. So one's 6 years older than me and 7 years older than me. So if I was 7, one was 14.
And 115.
And 115, yes. And so they come out of a place where they was getting attention by being sexual. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that's how they came.
Well, they were taught to do that, unfortunately, through the abuse. Yeah.
Yes, and they come into our household, and so they was trying to get all my dad's attention, which, of course, I mean, my dad, he hadn't seen his daughters for a while, and so he was happy they was there, but the oldest one was really intent on manipulating her way into getting us out, and I didn't know that at the time. All I knew was that
getting us out.
Me and my mom. Getting us out of the way.
Okay.
And so all I knew at the time was that my dad was giving them all the attention, but they were acting out. You see what I'm saying? And so that taught me from a young age to act out, and that's how you get attention. And so it did work. Me and my mom ended up leaving like maybe 6 or 7 months later.
And that means it got really bad really fast.
Yes. My oldest sister tried to come in and tell my mom she was not the woman of the house that she was. And
they needed some counts.
Definitely. Absolutely. And so I know that, for my dad, he was stuck in a hard position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question, because for it to move that quickly, would it be fair to say that it wasn't a perfect scenario prior to them coming. I mean, that moved very quickly. I would assume that there were seeds of discord prior to them coming. I mean, this didn't go from
my mom and dad, so they argued a lot, but at that time they were good.
Okay.
And
no addiction in the home. Anything.
So my dad was an addict, but at that time, to my knowledge, he was only smoking weed. It wasn't an addiction problem that created that. I think it was my mom pulling me out of the situation because it was like to where I didn't learn things that I wasn't supposed to learn, or because I was starting to act out with them. And so my mom was just like, I'm not going to deal with this. And she left, because my sister was overpowering the whole situation. And so we moved out. And so that's where I got my first, what's it called? Abandonment. I felt abandoned by my dad. He picked them over me. And,
well, that's how you felt he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
did your mom promote that idea?
No, my mom's very loving and caring. She tried to say, it's not you.
Good.
It's yeah. And so my mom never talked bad about my dad. Okay. It was never a fight between them like that. But soon after that, I started having kidney stones. At the age of 8, I started having kidney stones like 3-4 times a year. And they were not little ones that I could pass. They were size of golf balls.
Good Lord.
So I ended up being in the hospital a lot of my 3rd grade year. And it would happen at least twice a year. So I would have to go into the hospital. And this is where my addiction starts. So I would go into the hospital and they would give me morphine every 4 hours. And they would take me in there and they would do like a sound wave thing that would break the kidney stones up, and I'd pass some and then I'd have to go back in there, and the next week I would have that same surgery again until it was all gone. So I was in there for like 3 months at a time. And I can specifically remember either being 10 or 11, the first time that I knew that I could get it every 4 hours. So I was watching the clock. And when the clock hit 4 hours, I was like, oh, Mom, my back hurts. Call them.
It's hurting.
Yeah, because I wanted that shot of morphine. And I was 10 or 11. And so that continued. I was having them 2 or 3 times a year like that all the way up until I was 14. So, and they told me what caused them. They told me that it was salt that caused my kidney stones. And I remember being at home and wanting to go to the hospital to get the morphine so I would eat salt. And it would cause a kidney stone. And I would go get more morphine from the hospital.
At that young age, yeah.
Yes. And so that lasted until I was like 14. Also with my sisters, because I would go visit my dad.
Yeah.
And so I really learned a lot of sexual manipulation from my sister. For one, she was the first person that told me what sex was. And, she obviously didn't tell a child like the way it's supposed to be told. And so she was telling me that's how you get attention. I mean, put it this way, she ended up getting pregnant at 15 and didn't know who the dad was.
Yeah, sad.
And so in my mind...
So did you have a friendship with your sisters? I know you resented them at some level, but was there also sort of this...
So the other one, the youngest one out of the two, me and her got close.
Okay.
And so when I would go visit my dad, I enjoyed seeing her.
Okay.
But I completely resented the other one.
Never bonded with her.
Never. I think she looked at me like a toy, you know what I'm saying? Like she was just very manipulative, very, very overpowering manipulative, especially when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you were still a kid.
Yes. Yeah. So at 8 years old, she tells me all this stuff. And so in my mind, from then on up to 12, 14, now I didn't know this then, but I do now, that she created something in my mind that I thought was the only way. So I didn't know that it was the wrong way. In my mind, she taught me the only way. This is how you get attention from men. And so by 12, 13, 14, I was getting attention from men through that way, and didn't know that I was doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Some of them were grown men, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was really very confused about what love and sex really was from a young age.
Well, so let me ask you a difficult question, because you said some were adult men. So are you just being very seductive and these guys are right? But is there any how are the adult men finding access to you? Is there
Okay, so
is there a lifestyle here that
no? I'm living with my mom, and so after my mom left my dad, she ended up having to work 2 jobs. So all my life, she worked 2 jobs. She worked at the casino. She would work overnight. Okay, so I mean, there was one guy that lived up the road. I would go to friends' house, and they would have older brothers, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then she worked all night. And sometimes my sister, the one that I liked, she would babysit me. Me and her was close.
Yeah.
But other times I was at the point, I just did what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because she was not there, you know?
So would it be fair to say that your first addiction is a sexual addiction?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before the drugs and the alcohol start.
The drugs started at 11 and the sexual started at 12.
Okay. So the drugs did precede it. All right. Okay.
Not by much, but
Right behind each other, yeah.
I wanted to ask, because you were able to get close to the younger sister. Was there was she able to be close to the older sister, or was it really neither one of you? Does that?
So she's close to her, but she keeps her distance because she used to
learned behavior.
She used to manipulate her too. I remember one time being over at my dad's for the weekend, and a girl come up to our trailer to try to fight my older sister because she was sleeping with her boyfriend, and she sent my younger sister. She's not my younger sister, but the younger out of the two out there to fight her battles.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Stirred up.
Yes, absolutely. She just played chess with everybody pretty much, including my dad. You know.
Do you think that the drug, so you started drug use at 11, the sexual stuff starts at 12. Do you think the drug use made that, crossing that line easier? Was that,
so at that point, I had only done drugs in the hospital.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So you weren't using outside of that yet. Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Well, and if you weren't around it, did you even know that you could get access to it outside of a hospital?
No, not until I was so at 12, I started drinking and smoking weed. And at 13, this is when it kicked in outside of the hospital because there was cocaine, actually. Okay. So there was, I had a friend, and she had a brother that was older, and so he started getting what he wanted through cocaine. Yeah. And you got to remember, in my head, I don't think that this is wrong.
No, this is exactly how
I was taught.
Right.
It was how I was taught.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was doing anything wrong.
Sure.
You know?
It's reward, and it's a form of payment, and you can get whatever you want.
Yes.
Well, it's part of socialization, right? I mean, at that age, we do have a sense of right and wrong, but for certain categories of our life, we don't think to assess it that way.
Yeah,
you're not thinking, is this right, is this wrong? You're just engaging in socialization, the only way that you sort of had knowledge of, right?
Yes.
And if your mom worked that much, she's going to miss those.
Yes.
And that's the sad, when it is a single parent household and they're working and doing all that they can, more than likely to give, in the hopes to give you a better life than what you were born into.
Yes.
Well, then they're either too tired or they just miss it.
And that's the thing.
And then you're like,
she missed it. But when I was around her, I was the loving daughter. I love you, let's cuddle, let's watch TV. But when I was not around her, I was a totally different person.
You had learned to shift and manipulate.
Yes. And so then I learned how to manipulate my mom into thinking I was doing just fine. Let me go here. I'll be good. And no, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I do have to say that my mom did the best she could with what she had. And my dad did the best he could with what he had, even after the girls moved out. So both girls ended up moving out when they were 16 and 17. And so it was just my dad. No, it was earlier than that because my dad met my stepmom when I was 8 or 9. And so my mom told me, you're going to your dad's this weekend and he's got a girlfriend, and my mom was never bashing my dad. Right. She was explaining he's got a girlfriend, it's okay. And so from day one, I just walked up to her and my dad had to go to work and I'm like, hey, what are we doing today? She's still my stepmom today and I love her so much. And so after they got together, they battled a few different addictions.
Your stepmom and dad?
Yes.
Okay.
And I lived with them for a couple times through it, but they did the best they could with what they had.
So not
addiction.
just visiting them. There were periods in your life where you lived with them.
Yeah, a few times. Like when I was 13, when I was 15, I got into a lot of trouble with the law and not going to school. And so I ended up moving in with them when I was 15 and they was living in Ohio at the point. And the judge was like, as long as you move to another state, then, I'll drop these charges. Now, when I moved up there, that was the first time I ever seen a normal life. Like I went to school every day. We ate dinner at the table together. My dad went to work. It was normal for a couple years.
Did you stop using for a couple of years? Were you sober for?
So they smoked weed.
Okay.
And I smoked weed with them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But in my dad's head, that was, I know that you'll go running around like I was when I was 14, running around doing whatever I wanted, getting in trouble. So
at least this,
I'm home.
Do you see those now in looking back? Do you see that as good rationale, or to me, those are dangerous concepts that we have, right? Well,
they are.
Yeah.
So it's not right.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as it could have been. It's kind of like I didn't get in trouble anymore. I stayed home. Yeah. I did what I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Harm reduction, that's what it's called.
Yeah,
it's like harm reduction.
I sometimes think it's more harm postponement, right? Because what happens is that the addiction continues to. It's kind of like getting a deferment on your student loan, right? But the interest keeps growing, right?
Yes.
So you're doing this. You're not getting out into serious trouble, but you're feeding that addiction is getting stronger. So that when you do step out, all that's waiting for you, right?
Yes.
There's nothing that's brought you away from it. So
so it was always something, even if it was just sitting at home smoking weed.
Yeah. You weren't going without.
Yeah.
And so, let's see, I turn 18 or 17. I meet a guy and I get pregnant by him and I have my first son. Well, we got married.
At what age?
18.
18, okay.
18. We got married and I had my first son and, I tried to live with him in Ohio and I just had there was something in me that needed more. Like what did I do settling down at 18? Like I wasn't ready for that. Right. And so ultimately, I left him and moved down here and tried to take care of my son for a few months. But also I had that urge to go out.
Was that relationship troubled and you just said, I got to leave because you were stir crazy, or was it a bad relationship?
No, in that relationship.
Or was it a good relationship?
In that relationship, there started to be what's called wife rape.
Okay. So he was abusive.
Yeah, in just that area. Like he was not verbally abusive, not physically, but when we went to bed at night, yeah. So that's ultimately why I left him. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but I wasn't in the mindset, I wasn't even mature enough to take care of a kid. So as a mother, the best thing you could do for your kid is what's best for them. And what was best for him was not being with me. And so I called his dad and said, will you come get him? And so I let him live with his dad, let him take care of him. Because he was mature enough to stay at home and take care of a kid. And I didn't want to drag my kid around with me and what I was doing.
And you knew you weren't done.
I was 19. Like I was... I want to be a good mom. I got my kid at home, but all my friends that
are doing their thing.
And I just before I neglected him, I wanted him to go live with his dad.
I mean, I think that honestly is something that we see daily now. And it's a hard place to be, and to try to verbalize what I want to say is that there is that part, like it's not that the person doesn't love their child
Yeah, I still love them.
I think that part of it comes down to that it's similar to the invincibility fable, but instead it's like, I've got forever. This is not going to be that long.
I can make up for it later.
And
that's exactly what I thought. I said, just give me a little while to get myself together and I'll get him back.
Yeah.
And after
But
that,
we justify it, right? Because
Yes.
you were saying, my friends are over there, so
And I
we're
wanna
really
be there.
reprioritizing in an intensely selfish way.
Yes.
Because the drug and the alcohol really just hijacks everything about who you are.
and I
right?
was drinking real heavily then,
Yeah.
going out to bars, clubs, and it was a very selfish act, but I had the
all we
obsession. The
Yeah.
obsession was there, and
Yeah.
I couldn't stop it. And so I let my son go with his dad because I did not want to drag him around with me and neglect him.
Yeah.
It's very selfish, but I think that's the best I could do with what I had
part
at
and
that
parcel
point.
to the illness, right?
Yeah.
Do you, just as a foreshadowing, do you have a relationship with your son today?
He'll answer the phone sometimes. He's going through a lot in his life. He's 23 now, and he's going through a lot in his life.
You certainly don't share a faith connection then.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, which makes it difficult.
Absolutely
but
not.
I hear, and probably a lot of anger.
Oh,
feeding
I'm
that
sure that
confusion,
there's a lot of anger and resentment, and I've gotten out of rehab and told her, I am sorry for everything I did,
Yeah.
but that doesn't change it.
Right.
This is 23 years of not having your mom.
Sure.
And so I mean, I absolutely wish and pray that it comes to a time to where, even though she's in Ohio, we can come to a time to where we can have a relationship and a bond and some forgiveness and all of that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to push it, but I'm trying.
Right. Sure.
And so I'm drinking and so I start
Oh, I'm
going.
sorry. One more. Is there drug addiction involved with your
With your
son there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Drug. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So an addictive lifestyle. Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry. Go ahead.
So years go on, 21, 22, 23, and I dabbling with coke and ecstasy and all kinds of stuff. Well, I end up with a guy, and we're together for a couple years, and we have a baby. He's still in addiction. I think I was able to quit after about 3 months of being pregnant, 2-3 months of being pregnant. I was able to quit everything. We had the baby on. We had the baby December 10th, and January 5th, he passed away from SIDS. I was the only one at the house. I had laid him down for a nap, and I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I guess I had fallen asleep. And I really think this is a God moment that he let me go to sleep, because my mom come home like 30 minutes later and walked into the room, and she was the one who found him.
So that it didn't have to be you?
So it didn't have to be me. But
Now, were you active in your addiction at this point?
Had you started using again after having
no, I think I might have drank once or twice. It was only a month. He was only 27 days old. I think I might have drank. I drank on New Year's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's it since I had been pregnant. And he passed away January 5th. And I definitely blamed God. Okay, so I want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. In those years of me partying, 19, 20, 21, 22, and I did get pregnant twice, and I had an abortion twice. And the first one, it didn't bother me. I was able to do it again, but the second one really bothered me. The second one, but I buried it.
Sure.
And so when God took my son,
You felt like it was punishment?
it was punishment, and you couldn't tell me no different. He was punishing me for what I did.
In retrospect, do you still feel that way?
But I absolutely can understand why you would have thought that.
Yeah. And so that's where my down here spiral started.
You start punishing yourself.
Yep. So me and the baby's father ended up splitting up a few months later, probably about 6 months later. He had got a big $1 million settlement from working offshore, and he had all this money and all these drugs. And in the middle of it, I said, I don't care how much money you got, how much drugs you got, I have got to go. I mean, I was 86 pounds. I didn't care what it was. And when I woke up in the morning, I was mad because I woke up.
Yeah.
Like that was your life at that point. Every time you woke up, you were angry.
Well, I tried the night before to take whatever, and
it didn't work.
And it didn't work. I'd wake up the next morning and be like, oh, I got to do it again today. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work. I mean, I'm not brave enough to kill myself. I can tell you, I'm not.
You wouldn't have been opposed if it happened. You weren't actively going to do it, but you did not care if it
Absolutely.
worked. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so my mom... seen how bad it was, and 9 months after the baby passed away, they Baker acted me, and so I went to my first
because of the attempt.
Yeah, because I just
you were still spiraling.
I was walking dead.
Yeah,
like there was no emotion. I just felt dead inside.
Prior to them Baker acting you, were there any attempts to intervene with you, to sit down and talk with you?
I wasn't living at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I was living. When he got that money, we got a trailer, and we was buying the trailer, and so when he was very physically violent, and so the trailer park and the cops had come a few times, took our guns away from us, stuff like that, and so he wasn't allowed at the trailer. It was actually in my name, but of course I wasn't going to keep it. I didn't have a job or anything like that, so eventually the lights got shut off, and then that's when I went to rehab.
Okay.
First time
going to rehab. And so then I started to learn. I went through a grief and bereavement class there. I wrote a letter to my son. It really didn't do nothing for the addiction, but it did a lot for my person. Like before that, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't know I was just dead inside. And after that, I was like, okay, I have a little bit of confidence, I know who I am, but it just didn't stop the addiction.
Right.
But it brought myself back to life.
Let me ask you something about that, because there's... I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
There's an interesting phenomenon that can happen. So when you say it did nothing for the addiction, I get that. What you're saying is you got out of there and relapse came almost immediately. But you'll often hear this expression that even for people who don't get sober, rehab can change the way they use. Like you never use again the same way because you know stuff now. Did that happen? Like did you went out and you relapsed and you kept using, but did it nag at you now because you knew differently? I mean, did that
no,
restart?
There was a sense of, so there was also a sense of, I don't have any kids. I'm free to do whatever I want.
Okay. So you were just doubling down in full on the addiction.
Yeah. After that, I mean, so you also go to rehab and learn about drugs too. Mm-hmm. And I had never done meth before. So when I got out, I started doing that. And so for the next few years,
again, that comes up. It is so well, and working in treatment, you talk about the war stories, but that happens a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like the girls was telling me all about their little stories and stuff. And so when I got
like fun.
But before that, I was like, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I would never do that. But at the rehab, I learned about it. And when I got out, I started doing it.
Actively looking for it.
Yes. And at the time that we were cooking it, and so I learned how to do that. And so then I was
You were moving very quickly down to
Yeah. Yeah. And so a couple years of cooking it and doing it, and then I had started shooting up and all this, and that's the first time I got arrested. And so at the time, my mom had been married to this guy for a while. Me and him really didn't get along, but we just didn't talk. But I would go see my mom. I actually lived with her when the baby passed away, her and her husband then. But at this point, he wouldn't let me live there. I just went over there and seen her sometimes. But of course, I was doing the most out in the streets. And so I catch my first charge for cooking it. And one of my homeboys bonded me out immediately. Mm-hmm. And so, I bonded out and went right back to what I was doing. And 9 days later, so in this 9 days, my mom calls me and says, I have to tell you something. And I said, what? And she said, I might have cancer. And I was like, what? I was asking questions. It was breast cancer. She said, if I find out I have cancer, will you please stop? I said, of course. Of course. I will come home and take care of you, whatever. 9 days later, so I had left a bag of stuff to cook dope in the closet at my mom's. And my stepdad found it and called the police. And so they're looking for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm out on bond and they're looking for me. And at this point, I lost my mind for when I was doing too much meth, you know what I'm saying, staying up for too many days, and I lost my mind. And I was like, I'm going to go kill him. Like, my mom just told me she had cancer, and he just, like, I know I'm going back now. And now I'm going back for probably 10, 15 years, and you know what I'm saying? And this was in my mind. And I was literally planning of how to go over there and kill him. And this is a God shot. I get pulled over.
Were you on your way over there?
No. I was actually at a pharmacy waiting on somebody to go get some pills, but I was planning it in my mind.
Yes.
Like the person that was riding with me was like, Sabrina, stop, you're scaring me. And I was like, I don't care. He took me away from mom. He took me away from my mom. I'm taking him. You know what I'm saying? And so God stopped me from that. Like God put his hand down and arrested me again. He said, nope, you're not doing that. Your mom's going to be okay.
He put you in a timeout.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful. So thankful. So I go to jail. I spend 2 years. I get out. I mean, I went to prison. That was my first time going to prison. I get out.
Did you use in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I get out and I'm doing the same thing. I'm using, and all this time it is meth and opiates, meth and pills. Like it was never heroin or fentanyl yet, but it was all the pills,
right?
You know? And so I get out and I'm doing the same thing. And 3 months later, I get arrested again. Now, in them 3 months, there was nothing good about them 3 months. Like, all of it was horrible. The people I was around, the things I was doing, it was just horrible. And so God was like, you're still going on the wrong track. And he picked me up again. And you got to remember, this whole time, my mom's praying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My mom's been praying for years. And so I go to jail, and this time I was in jail for about 5 months. And I've always believed in God. As a kid, my mom didn't take me to church, but my aunts would. I'd stay the summer with my aunts, and I'd go to VBS. So I knew who God was. But
did you ever ask during that time? Like, you knew who he was, but did you ever, when things were really that bad?
Oh, yeah, I'd always
ask, where are you?
No, because he hated me. He took punishing me.
That's how you saw him.
Yeah, because he punished me with my son. So now, like, he doesn't want a relationship with me. But there was always the, God, get me out of this situation, you know? And so I was in jail, and there was a lot of drugs and a lot of things going on. And I said, God, get me out of this situation. And the next morning, he packed me up and moved me down to county for court order. Now, it's funny because when I went to county, the whole zone, like, all these people are in their Bible. They are all doing devotions and stuff like this. And at this time, I literally think that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is one story all the way through. Like, that's how much I know about the Bible. Yeah. I know nothing. I mean, I know the kids' stories that we was told, but that's it. And so I start doing devotions and reading the Bible, and that's when I got saved. In 2012, I gave my life to God in jail. I was also able, in that time that I was down there on court order, I was able to get baptized. Okay?
Wow.
And so I start having a relationship with God. And the rest of the time in prison, I actually purposely got moved to a place that didn't have drugs, and I was reading my Bible, and, you know, but I still didn't know what a relationship was. I was it was just the knowledge. Like, I was learning about God. I could pray to God, and, you know, but it was all, I was just learning. I still don't feel like that was a personal relationship. I think I was trying, but I still didn't know what it was. And
so it was still head knowledge.
It was head knowledge, yeah. Like, I believe in God. I pray to God. I trust him. But I just had no surrender, you know? And so,
but you're clean now.
Yeah, I'm clean for
Were there any withdrawals? Did you have any difficult time getting clean, or do you not?
So the only time I had withdrawals at that point is like every time I got out of the hospital, they would have to detox me before I would get out the hospital.
Okay, and then put you to send you.
And then there was a couple times I think I felt with withdrawals was in that time that I was in that time period that I was doing whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
Okay, so let me get you back to where you were, because I just was curious. So here you're now pursuing the knowledge of God.
Yes. Yeah. And so I learn a lot about God while I'm in jail. Okay. I get out, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to go back to that life. But somehow I'm still going to have the same friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, because I didn't know anything else than that.
Right.
Like, I didn't know there are no more people out here. Like, I don't have anything. So I just went back to what was comfortable. Well, my mom's still praying. And at this point, she's like, God, prison didn't stop her. Me getting cancer didn't stop her. What is going to stop her? And she's praying for something to stop me. And, we had went on vacation up to Ohio to see my son. He was about 13 at the time. And in that week, my mom's like, your belly's getting kind of big.
Uh-oh.
And I was pregnant. Now, this is 6 years later. In my mind, God had punished me for having abortions, and I have not got pregnant at all in these 6 years.
Right.
And I'm pregnant. And my mom tells me it's because I prayed. And so that's how I have my daughter. She's 10 now. So I have her, and I'm able to stay clean. I was already 3 months pregnant when I found out. So I got really scared, but I quit, and so then I have her. And then after that, so I was living with my dad, and he's in active addiction. And so I was like, I want something different for my daughter. And my mom is living out in Van Cleve with her sister with my aunt that used to take me to church. And it's a great spot. There's kids out there. And I plead with my aunt, please let me move out here. I'll do whatever you want. I'll go to church all the time. I'll clean. I'll hold a job. I'll do whatever I want. I just want my kid in a good environment. And she let me move out there. And so for the next 2 years, next year and a half, I was clean, and I held a job, and I was taking care of my kid, and we was going to church, and I ended up, helping the church, serving in the church a little bit, and but it was all still had knowledge. It was checking a box.
Mm-hmm. And where was Dad for the daughter? Okay,
so we was together the whole time.
Yeah.
We was together from right before I got pregnant, all through the pregnancy. But see, he lived with me at my dad's a couple times, but mostly he lived with his mom. He didn't really hold a job.
Yeah.
And
also active addiction.
Yeah. So that relationship was me trying really hard, but not knowing how to have a good relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all him. Like, we were both.
Neither one of y'all knew how to have
We
a
were
relationship.
both toxic, but we were really trying for each other, but it was too toxic, and we could never live together. I mean, neither one of us had anything, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I would take JC over to his mom's for the weekend and stuff like that. But life was the best I had ever lived. You know what I mean? Like, I was living at my aunt's. I mean, I helped her out in the yard. I held a job. It was
you had a healthy child.
Yeah.
That you were raising.
Yeah. And then my aunt got sick. And my mom was already out there, living out there to take care of her, but then she got really sick. And so her daughter and son said that it was too much for me and my daughter living out there. And so I called my dad and asked him if we could move back in with them.
And is he still in his active addiction?
Yeah. And so I fell right back into it.
Yeah.
I ended up starting to sell it again. It was like, this time I felt like I was on a roller coaster that I couldn't stop. I really wanted it to stop, but I couldn't stop it. Like, I knew better now.
Is there a shift in something internal? So a lot of your early use was fueled by an anger at God, or some of it, right? Mm-hmm. Are you, at this point, are you angry at him again, or have you, now you've...
No, I don't want it to be like this.
Yeah, so you're
but
not
I can't
angry
stop
at him.
it.
Okay.
No,
okay.
After I got saved, no matter what I went through, like, I loved God. In fact, I had already...
So there's movement.
I had already been able to see that the reason he kept on arresting me was for my good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could already see that.
Yeah.
But at this point, it was like I couldn't stop what was going on around me, and I was in the middle of it. And I mean, I was active in it, but I just felt like I wanted it to stop, and it wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I tried heroin. And so I was really mad. It ended up being like a drug house. Like, my dad and stepmom was living there, but they was letting my boyfriend live there that was selling drugs, and also my friend and they ended up sleeping together, and my dad wouldn't. He was like, do you have proof? No, I'm not kicking them out. They can stay here. And so I got really angry at my dad and stepmom, and I was like, and so with them, it was, I could leave JC there with them. You know what I'm saying? So I just left. I just left her. I left them. And I was like mad at the whole house. Like, how could you put me in this situation? And my mind was just spiraling crazy. And so I ended up trying heroin for the first time and overdosing on it. Like, I was supposed to meet my mom and my daughter for Thanksgiving, and while they was eating Thanksgiving, they was Narcaning me and stuff like that. And my mind was just so gone at the time. Like I was back in that, I don't feel worthy. I can't even raise my kid right. It's just so far gone. And I would come home and try to like play with her and hold her, and my stepmom would yell at me because I was nodding out and stuff. And it was just bad. And so I'm crying to God for help, and he arrests me again. So I'm going back to prison. Well, this is when I surrendered to God. Because
what's the charge?
Another drug charge.
Like
heroin.
selling,
It was just, this last one was just a little possession charge.
Okay. But enough to...
But it violated you? Is that okay?
Yeah. And so, but this is where I surrendered because God already gave me, God has already helped me out in prison. He's already gave me a child to try to stop to save me, and it was saving me until I didn't let it.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I was like, I cannot believe what I've done. And I surrendered to God. And I was like, God, help me. I don't know what to do, but help me. And so, like, I can always see him when he's there. Like, that's the thing, is you can be so far in your addiction, so far away from him, but he's there. He's always there. And I realize that it's not our actions that push him away. It's us that push him away. Because if it was our actions, then he wouldn't have been there at my darkest times. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was always there, even when I didn't feel worthy of him being there. He was always there to stop me in my tracks. So then I go back to rehab.
I think I know what you're saying there. I want to try. So it's the reality is we can't push him away, but we can stop hearing him.
Yeah.
Right. He's there. And so disobedience, it is our actions. It's our disobedience that makes it hard for us where we can't hear.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. I want to be sensitive here because I think this runs the risk of offending you, and I don't mean to do that. But I do. I think because the message of the gospel is important, right? And I think what you're saying, there's some really important thing here to parse out. If I'm going to give a little pushback on the way that you said something, and then ask you. Well, let me start with a question. So you had this child, right? Mm-hmm. And you see the child as a blessing, and I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think children are always a blessing, regardless of They are innocence, so that's a perspective of innocence that comes into our life. But would you say that you were living a godly life at that time when you had that child? No. Okay. So I appreciate that. So, I think this is where we have to really take a look at something, right? So I loved what you said when you went back to prison the next time after you had the child. You said, this is where I surrendered. So when you had that child, you still weren't living a surrendered life. And this is what I think people need to hear, right?
Yes, I wasn't. I was checking the box.
Yeah, the child is a blessing, but not a reward. It's not like God is rewarding us for being in this good spot, right?
No.
And so it was just a blessing in the midst of my mess. I didn't, we don't deserve those good things that happen. But I also here's where I want to give you a little pushback. And I don't have to be right. This is not right. But I worry about things like, and I know some people will see, when you say, God gave me this child to save me, I know what you mean. Mm-hmm. But that really is a very dangerous perspective because the child is not there to save you. The child is a blessing. Jesus is there to save you.
Yes, absolutely.
The child may be an awakening moment.
Yes.
Right? But
so that's
the
the way my mom put it. That's the way my mom put it. I was praying for something to save you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To stop you. So that's really the way my mom was putting it. But So God had a plan. When he was answering my mom's prayers because he knew that once I had JC, my mind shift. Like, I wouldn't allow myself to go.
Well, it's a speed bump.
Yeah.
Right? It's whoa. What's happening?
And eventually, like, his plan with everything, she was one of the reasons that kept me from going too far, and why I came back. You see what I'm saying? Why I would always come back is because I have a responsibility of this child. And so he
even
used
if you
it.
weren't doing it perfectly, you still felt that responsibility and that tug.
That I never had before, so I could just do whatever.
Yeah. But see, that to me is Romans 8:28. So Romans 8:28 is a very famous thing for those Christians. It says God can work all things together for those who love him. But what I want to point out here is all things means he can even work our mistakes, right? It doesn't mean this was his plan. Look, his plan for us was the garden. That was his plan. Everything after the being evacuated, kicked out of that garden, is not really his plan. It's Romans 8:28. He's going to work this to our good. It
no matter what.
Right. It ends back in a good place because ultimately there is a divine plan. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but we are often outside of his plan. But he will work our disobedience to his good if we love him. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I just want to be careful that sometimes I think we try to tack on, like we try to put his approval on our mistakes in hindsight by saying, well, that was God's plan for me. Well, maybe, no, it wasn't, right? That wasn't his, but he can use your mistakes for your good if we will allow him, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I just have, and again, this is maybe just me. Somebody else might be out there hearing that going, how can he be saying that? Look, I don't have to be right. Find your own place there. But the reality is, the beauty of of Jesus is that he can use our waywardness either. But his plan wasn't for us to be wayward.
Right.
That's not his plan, right? And sometimes I feel like we do that to ease up something inside of us, not the truth, right?
I mean, you're right. And you are right in that situation. That's why in the story, he was always there. He used all my mistakes.
Amen.
He used all my mistakes. Every time I disobeyed him, he would use that for a purpose later.
Amen.
For a purpose later.
Right. And isn't that awesome?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And I believe this so certain in my heart. God was always there with me through everything.
Amen.
He allowed me, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't make stuff happen. God doesn't make bad things happen. But he allows things to happen.
Amen.
And he allowed me to go through every trial and heartache and everything like that because he has a purpose for it. Because
he can and will use it.
Yes. Absolutely. And I believe that's the power of your testimony is that he allowed me to go through all these things to use that for somebody's good, for my good.
But he's not going to make us.
No, he's not going to make us.
The power of the testimony to me is that it points to a God who chases after us.
Yes.
What in the world are you chasing after me for, God? Right?
Yes.
What I've done,
As
X, Y, and
hard
Z.
as I will run from him.
Yes.
That he would be there if I will just turn around and look the other way, right? That's the beauty of our testimony. Not that our waywardness was in his plan, but that when we stepped outside of his plan, he still loved us enough to chase us down.
Yes, you're completely right.
I mean, man, there's a good guy.
That's exactly what I believe.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm glad you pointed that out. If I misspoke that, I'm glad you pointed it out because that's exactly what I think.
I thought that was your intent. Yeah.
Yes, that is my intent. So thank you for pointing that out for anybody, who's listening. And so I mean, that's when I went to the home of grace. Okay. I called out to God, like, I can't be doing this. I can't be in jail. I can't be going back to prison. Like, how did I get this far? I have a daughter at home and all this. And I was like, I need God. I'm in jail. Like, you can only get so much God in jail, like once a week. You know what I mean? And so I asked him, can I please go to the Home of Grace?
What year was that?
2019.
Okay.
2019. And she was like, well, maybe I can get into you in another rehab. I said, no, Mom. I'm praying to go to the Home of Grace, and I believe that God's going to make a way because I want to surrender to Him. You know what I mean? And so my cousin, I just out of the blue, was like, yeah, I'm going to send her there. And so I got to go, and that's where I got to know him. Like, the Home of Grace taught me what I know, you know what I'm saying? Everything about the Bible. It taught me how to have a personal relationship. It taught me Jesus's way of looking at things, Jesus's way of forgiving, Jesus's way of loving, Jesus's way of being kind, all the fruits of the Spirit, you know, how to live in the tree of all these things that I never knew before, how to have a real relationship with Him. You know what I'm saying? How to go to Him about that He cares about all of our problems, you know?
Yeah.
And it taught me that. And I mean, still to this day, like...
I love that you fought all of this for so long, and you definitely have paid some hefty prices. But saying, when she said, your cousin said, hey, I'm going to send you to this treatment center, you said, so I got to go there. That's where I got to go.
I have to.
And I
had already started reading my Bible in jail. Like, I remember I was coming off of heroin in medical at Harrison County Jail. And, like, they had me in medical because I was coming off of heroin. And I literally, a guard come up to me. It was his last day. He was retiring. And he pulled a little Bible out of his pocket. And when he walked off, he was literally leaving. He talked to me for a minute. I don't even remember what he said, but it was out the Bible. And he was leaving, and he was waving bye to everybody. It was his last day. And I turned around, and I hit the mat. And I was like, God, I surrender. I surrender. And then that's why I had to go to the Home of Grace. I had already started reading my Bible. I was like, I want to know more. I want to get close to Him. I just had to know. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, I had some head knowledge from of the period in time where I had got saved. You know?
Right.
But I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so I went to the Home of Grace, and it was amazing. Amazing. I ended up, the judge didn't let me go because I went to rehab. He said, I don't care where you went. You caught new charges, and you're going back to prison. And I went for another 3 years.
After treatment?
So from the time she was 4 till the time she was 7, I didn't even get to see her because that's when COVID hit, so there was no visitations.
Oh, how hard. Yeah.
Your mom had her?
Yeah.
Now, you maintained sobriety throughout those 3 years in prison?
I did not.
You did not. Okay.
You got to understand, when you're in prison, this is not an excuse, but I'm going to tell you the reality of it. When you're in prison, you're locked in one big room with 150 beds and 150 women. And 148 of them are getting high.
Yeah.
Even the little old ladies.
Sure. Yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
And you can try.
Yeah.
I remember getting there when I first got there. I wasn't buying cigarettes.
I wasn't do this. I'm not going to do that. And that too becomes a slow fade.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's nothing to do, and everybody's doing it, and everybody's talking about it. There's no conversation that's not about it. And then somebody's like, well, here, you can have some. You don't even have to buy it, you know?
Well, thanks.
Yeah, and there it goes. And so...
Sometimes I think that comes, honestly, through, like, we have that God-planted need for community, and you're there, and you're thinking about things out there. I think that it's not always about, I give up, I want to get high. It's... Our conversations change because we're lonely and we want companionship, and we start talking. Well, then to be around those people, and if everyone, it's hard.
Yes.
It is hard. I don't excuse it, but it's hard.
And then I thought, I have 3 years. You know what I mean? In my head, I was like,
later.
I can fix it later. I can fix it when I get out. You know? And, all right, so I get out, and I was on Suboxone in there. So as soon as I got out, I had to find it or I would be sick.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I got out on Suboxone. I'm not going to use anything else. And that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same old story all the time.
Well, I also think people need to hear that because when they try to maintain on Suboxone, like, well, at least I'm doing this, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. And the reality is,
and I want to say this. I want to say this about Suboxone. I've been on Suboxone a few times, okay? And for the longest time, I thought, like you said, I'm just on Suboxone. If I stay on Suboxone, I won't use nothing else. It keeps me, I can live a normal life, X, Y, Z. You are still chained. You are still chained because if you do not take your medicine.
Yeah.
Oh, you're sick.
You're sick. You're sick.
Yeah.
And I've done it every time. I don't have Suboxone. The doctor, my insurance ran out. I can't go, don't have the money for the doctor. Well, I have to have something. And guess what that something is going to be? Fentanyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly how I got on fentanyl. So I get out of prison and I'm on Suboxone. And so at this point, I still don't know that. I do not know that I can come out of prison and I can have a clean slate. And I can start with new people and go to new places and all this. All I ever know is going back to the same people.
Old people, places, and things.
Like I've heard change your people, places, and things, but I had no clue how.
Yeah.
Every time I've gotten out of anything, nobody taught me how.
Yeah.
So I go back to the same people. And I try to maintain. I try to maintain with my daughter. Now, I'm going to say this. I have left this out the whole time, and it is a big part. So, throughout this, starting probably when I got out in 2014, because I had caught so many charges, like I can't supply myself by selling anymore because I can't catch another charge. So in my addiction mind, because of what I was taught when I was young and how I see sex, and it just doesn't bother me, that's how you get attention, it was easy for me to say, I can't catch another charge, but I know something I can do that's just a misdemeanor, and I can pay for my whole habit. I can also pay for bills. I can get stuff for my daughter. Like I can do everything. And so I started escorting. I mean, I was doing that in 2014 again, when I moved in with my dad in 2018, and before I went to, just every time I'm in real active addiction to where I'm needing to pay for it, I refuse to sell anything, but I'm going to escort. And in my mind,
that was the lesser?
That was the lesser of the two evils. And in my mind, I can control this because I can manipulate this. I can control it. It feels very powerful. You know what I mean? And so in my mind, so my habit is only this little tiny bit to supply my habit, and I've got all this money. Yeah. And I mean, I'm taking my daughter and mom on vacations to Destin for her birthday and going all these places, and I'm buying her like $500 worth of new school clothes, and I'm paying all my mom's bills. My mom's allowed to move out of my aunt's and into an apartment because I'm paying all the bills and everything. But at that point, I also can't get Suboxone no more. And so I start doing fentanyl.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
And I'm doing fentanyl for about 6 months now. That is a whole game changer. That is a whole game changer. Like that. Fentanyl is nothing to play around with. Like, you literally have to look at it every time before you're about to do it and say, I hope this isn't too much.
Yeah, it'll kill you quick. Yeah.
I hope this isn't too much. And it'll be 3 crumbs. And you're like, I hope this doesn't. And when people around you
Are dropping.
are not only that, but people around you are treating you like you're about to die, it gets scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I got somebody banging on my door has already went and got my dad because they couldn't get in my door, and they just know I'm dead in there because I was knotted out.
Yeah. You know, what a great picture, if I can, just for a minute, of how the enemy works. As you're telling me this, I'm thinking, gosh, how insidious, right? Right. So your story starts with, you're escorting, you're making tons of money. I can go on these vacations. I'm getting stuff right. I have no doubt there were moments of happiness in that moment because money can buy you some happiness. But guys, our goal as Christians is not happiness, it's joy.
Right.
Joy is so much more more worth. It's much more valuable than happiness. Happiness can distract you from our pursuit of joy. And man, the enemy will throw all kinds of things at you. But see, here you paint this picture. On one hand, I'm rolling in dough. I can buy some happiness. On the other hand, every night I'm scared to death that it's going to be my last. Because, right, just how he fools us, man. The father of lies, the father of deception.
I just can't get past the picture of a dad beating on the door.
Thinking you're dead inside, yeah.
Trying to mentally prepare yourself to look at your child who's on fentanyl.
So they see me on it. Like.
No, I mean seeing you dead.
Preparing to see it.
Yes, preparing to see me dead. Or when they come over to the hotel one night and no. I drove over to their house. Don't even remember how I got there. Had to let my friend drive once we got there because I was going in. My stepmom was giving me my birthday present. And I was like, couldn't open the box. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't open the box. And she was like, and then to watch me leave. Yeah. And I'm doing this to my parents, and I'm staying away from JC because I've done that to her before. I've nodded out playing with her on heroin years before, so I'm staying away from her now.
You don't want her to see it.
I don't want her to see it. And here God comes again.
As he does.
So this time he came to me. And you're right. The father of lies was all around me. I'm talking about I am living this escort lifestyle, staying in a hotel, praying I don't die every night, and thinking that I'm happy. And so, I mean, I've been thrown in a shower a couple times to wake me up because they thought I was overdosing and I was nodded off and stuff like this. And people around you are just treating you like you're about to die. And I tell you, the hand of God came down and sat me down. I couldn't move. I was in a hotel room. He didn't let any phone calls come through. He didn't let anybody knock on my door. But he let me sit there, and I got high. And when I nodded out, he gave me a vision. He gave me a vision of me overdosing. My mom and my daughter getting the call. I'm like over watching them in the living room. And I see them get the call, and I see them break down. And I wake up and I'm scared, okay? But then somehow I nod back off. And I see the funeral and everybody crying over me. None of them friends are there. None of them. You know what I'm saying? I've got 4 people at my funeral. My mom, my daughter, my dad, and my stepmom. And then I see a vision, and I night out again, and I see a vision of my mom and my daughter months later after I've died, and they can't get it together. Like, my mom can't take care of my daughter don't know what to do, you know, just in that place of pure loss and grief, and they can't get over it. And I wake up and I'm like, if I don't stop, I'm about to die. Like, this is a warning. He's telling me, stop or you're about to die, and this is what it's going to look like. And that's when I sat there for 4 days. I think it was 4 days. I called, and so I needed to go to a rehab that had detox and all this.
Detox.
And so I found one, a really good one in Brandon, had detox. I got the right insurance through the marketplace, and I go there, and it was the worst time coming off of that. I'm talking about, even the nurses still say now, you are the worst withdrawal we've ever had. And, well, God just started putting people in my life. I mean, I'm out there, my 3rd day there, and he puts a guy there, and the guy says, I'm telling him I've been to all these rehabs and everything. I mean, there's a couple more rehabs in between. I just didn't get to those. And he says, have you ever just tried to do the next right thing? I said, what? He said, just every decision that you make, you don't have to ask yourself, should I go to the kitchen and eat? You know that's okay. But you do have to ask yourself, should I start telling war stories? Should I hang out with this person? Should I do this? Should I do every little thing? Just do the next right thing. And I said, okay. Like a bet. Okay. Well, I really lay it out. Like, at this point, I'm done. Teach me how to never do this again. Teach me how to never do this again. And God also put a girl there that I knew from the streets, and she had this life. She was married to a guy that was a pastor, and she was working at a rehab, and she had a nice car, and she was doing all that, got her own house and all this. And I said, that's what I want. That's what I want. And so just the next right thing. I'm talking about, I did all kinds of therapies there. They have like a brain spotting therapy and all kinds of, you know, stuff to get your mind from all this trauma, you know? And I did all these different therapies, and so the next right thing after that would have been to go home or to go to sober living. And y'all suggested it. That's what I'm going to do. Do I want to go home? Yeah. But do I know what's going to happen? Yeah. Yep. So I called my mom and my daughter. And okay, hold on. I got to tell you this part. Every other time I needed to go to rehab, I would go to my mom and say, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I need to go to rehab. You have to do everything. This is the first time that I went to her and I said, Mom, I'm ready to go to rehab. She says, oh, what do I got to do? I said, nothing. It's already done. I'm leaving tomorrow. And so she knew I was serious this time.
You did the footwork.
Yes, I was serious this time.
Personal investment.
Yes. And so when I call her and I tell her I'm going to sober living, she's like, do what you got to do. I mean, they're at home happy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Her and my daughter's at home happy. Like, she's doing what she needs to do. And so I go to sober living. And so I end up doing like 10 weeks of IOP with this therapist. And that's where I learned to live in sober living, to where I'm going out and I'm going to work, but I'm also going to NA and AA and CR and stuff. And I'm creating family, you know what I'm saying? Friends.
Yes.
And we go, and that's also where I met my my husband, but, so he was in sober living too. And I really feel like God put him in my life too. Like God, I know God's got his hand on everything. Like I know this, I don't think, I know, but, he was, God gave me the real man that I needed, for one, when I was finally ready and could appreciate it. And for two, when I needed him the most. You know what I'm saying? Like I needed that security that you have with a man, you know what I'm saying? And when you find one that really treats you right, like you feel secure in what you're doing and you're able to keep going forward, he's going forward and he's like egging you on the whole time, just supporting you.
Well, I don't know that you'd ever had anything.
I've never had that.
Sort of a healthy relationship.
I've never had that. Never. And so at first, when I met him, for one, I'm newly sober. And listen, I'm going to say right now, I do not believe that you should get in a relationship.
Thank you.
I do not believe that. I seen other people that was living in sober living with us that ended up overdosing over the person that they got with in sober living. I do not condone it.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I tell everybody, do not look at me. God did that. I can't.
Or he kept you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but don't look at me to do what I did in that position. No, because I've seen it go bad so many times.
You know, I always tell the clients, don't try to be an exception to the rule.
Right.
Put the odds in your favor.
Yes.
Just do what's the most reliable, right? Of course, there are exceptions. Thank God you were one of them.
Thank God that
10
you are.
people do that. And 9 of them don't work out, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, 10 people do it. Most of the time, 10 of them don't work out.
Right.
You got to have like 100 for one of them to work out, you know?
That's better,
and so, but I almost, like, I knew this in my head, and I was like, should I get in this relationship? But I just knew that, you know how you could tell, like,
Something's different.
Something's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really felt, and of course, one of the first questions he asked me is, do you believe in God? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like one of the first questions he asked me. And so I also found, and I told him, I said, I come as a package, and I don't mean me, my daughter, and my mom. I mean me and my daughter. I mean me, my daughter, and my mom. And he said, that's perfect. He just lost his mom like a year before that. You know, that's God on both parts. Okay, so we stay in sober living for 6 months, and we come back down here, and we start going to try. For the first time ever, I knew how to build a life. You see what I'm saying? I knew that you got a blank slate, and you don't want to fill it with anything you know, but you do not know what to put here. I tell everybody this, all the girls and clients, I say, you do not know what to put here. You have to intentionally put the right stuff there. So you have to intentionally, on your first days out, you have to go to NA, CR, whatever. And then you have to find a church, and you have to get into that church, because you're going to need them people to fill this plate.
Yeah.
And if you don't intentionally do it, these people are going to come onto your plate.
That's one of my favorite words in the recovery process is intentional, right? If you step out of recovery and you start doing what's comfortable, you're probably headed for relapse.
Yes.
Right? You've got to start practicing the uncomfortable.
And you still have to ask yourself in every move that you make, is this the next right thing?
Yeah.
And that's how I did it, with the next right thing, and being intentional that
you built a church family, a recovery family, and that's not something you had ever had.
Yeah.
It's something I didn't know how to do that when I got out. Every time I got out, I didn't know that you go to these places and you find people that are living the same life as you, that are, church people that believe in the same thing, that are going to direct you in the right way. And I finally knew that for once. Yeah. And so, I did that in sober living. So when I moved down here, I knew what to do.
Right.
And at first I was scared. I was scared to go out, because everything I knew in Biloxi was always bad. But God put it in my place. I'm talking about, like, a friend led me back to AA, and I used that. And I do believe in AA. When I first got sober, I needed that. I needed that so bad, as a daily, to not be idle, to talk about your problems, to find people that are like you. But I also, God had me just drive by my church, and I was like, that's been there my whole life. That's a church. And I looked it up, and we watched it, and I knew it was perfect because God gave it to me. He put it in my path. And when I got there, and see, this is what I try to tell people is, after you've lived a life like that, you feel like you got a scarlet letter on your head.
Right.
And you don't know how to conversate with people that are in that lifestyle. The people that are living regular lives, you don't know how to conversate with them. And so you feel like you're left out. But you're not. You don't have a scarlet letter on your face. They don't know. And even if they don't
either. That's the whole thing. It's everyone has gone through something, battle, shame.
Yeah.
And the enemy wants us to sit here and be the ones that feel like you're the worst one. You may not want to try to. I promise.
That's the enemy.
There's something that they think is worse.
And if you go somewhere to any of these classes or these churches, and somebody doesn't talk to you and like that, and they look at you like that's not where you belong. Go to a church that accepts you. Hey, welcome in. Who are you? You know, and my church did that. They accepted us in. You know, my husband's black too, so I was like, are they, you know,
are they going to be racist?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this church welcomed him in, welcomed us in, asked us to serve there. You've got to get plugged into church. You just can't look. God, when the Israelites left Egypt, okay, God gave them manna, daily bread, and He said, "Do not try to keep this manna for the next day because it's going to spoil." Okay. The same thing with the Word. The Word is the daily bread. Sunday's sermon is not going to support you on Wednesday. You need it every day.
Yeah.
You need it every day. So whether so you can't just go to church on Sunday, get plugged in, get into a small group, get into something, relate to these people, go start having coffee with them. And that's how you create a life that you never thought you were even worthy of before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And you plant your family into it too. My daughter's in there. My mom's in there. Now my dad and stepmom are sober. And they're in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? God will make miracles happen. After, I don't even know, my dad's 60, I think he was 65, 66 when he got sober. After I come home and they got sober. You know what I'm saying? And then they start going to church with me. And so people can see God through you. All you have to, you don't have to push nobody to come to God. They see God in you and it'll change them. You know, and now, I mean, God's blessings on blessings. I've never lived a life so good. God provides everything. God provided me a job. God provides all these things, and it's just so it's so amazing how He works.
But there are still hardships, aren't there?
Yes, absolutely.
But we handle them differently, and that's part of the beauty of the new life. It's not the absence of hardship; it's the difference in how we face them.
So when you have a hardship, you can't keep it to yourself and deal with it yourself.
That's right.
You surrender it to God, and then it's God's responsibility, and it's easier for you to take care of.
Well, and also humbling yourself before others. That support system you talked about, right? One of our callings is to do what? Bear one another's burdens.
Absolutely.
If I'm keeping them secret, I can't do that. I can't let other people do that.
Right. And so at my church, one of the small groups, it's actually our biggest ministry, but it's called the Freedom Ministry. And it's adopted from Pastor Chris Hodges and Highland Church in Alabama. And it was made to be planted in churches. And it's a freedom ministry. So for 12 weeks, we're going to get down in and see what's all putting this hole in you, whether it's trauma or addiction, or, I mean, it's not for addiction, it's for divorce or losing a kid or for anything broken. Yeah. And we're going to try to get that out of you and fill it with Jesus. And I went through this program the first time. Okay. And so I've been through rehabs and AA and all this, but I'm finally planted in a church and I have a relationship with him. I'm not just talking to him on Sunday. I'm talking to him all week long, and I'm going to the Freedom Ministry. And when I tell you, that is what set me free. Learning them in them 12 weeks, everything that I learned, how to forgive, how God sees us, how to be a vessel of honor, how to our words play into everything. It's a 2-day conference at the end, and the 2-day conference is where you lay everything at the feet of Jesus and you walk out free. And when I went through that, I got my freedom from everything I've been through. Like, I've forgiven.
Yeah.
I understand. I can see God in everything, and I've surrendered everything.
Yeah.
You know, and daily, there's more things I have to surrender. What I surrendered yesterday is not different from what I have to surrender today, but you have to keep in that posture.
Yeah.
And then once I went through the program, God started to use me. And they asked me to be a leader in the program.
Yeah.
And it was actually the year that I went through it. The next year, they made a recovery class because I taught, you know what I'm saying? I got what I needed out of the program.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they was like, let's make a recovery, and they put me a leader of the recovery program.
So much for that scarlet letter.
Huh? So much for that. God using it all, because everybody at my church knows everything about me. And they're like, you've got a testimony. And now God is using me in this ministry with all the people that are now my closest family, and I can go to them for anything. And He's helping me save other people, helping me talking through me, and to set other people free. There you go.
Yeah,
you know?
Amen.
Well, I want to add, I love that you brought out, and you mentioned, that was good about we can't you can't go forward and stay full on the word if you're only reading it on Sundays or letting it be spoken. You need to read the word. You need to speak out the word yourself. And as a recovery, just rule of thumb that I try to live by is something my counselor friend said to me. And she said, Kathryn, you need to remember that you can never stay sober today on yesterday's sobriety. So there's something I'm always needing to be doing. I don't use another rest on my laurels.
Yeah, well, Paul says it best, right? He says what? He says, I die daily. Right? And so what is, that's not, obviously it's not a physical death.
Not
we
a
know
one-time
that.
thing.
What he's saying is that he wakes up every day, recognizes that the desires of this stuff, the desires of his flesh, are probably contradictory to the desires of his spirit, right?
Yes.
And he has to die to that. He has to die to the fleshly desires every day and bow to the desires of the Lord for him. And because he also understands that his joy is there.
Yes.
Right?
And so one of my favorite verses is, if you love me, you will obey what I command.
Yeah.
Now there's a comma right there. And that comma separates whether you're going to live in the tree of life or the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So you can read it one way. If you love me, you're going to obey me. Or you can read it, if you love me, you'll obey me, no problem. And that's how I live now.
Yeah.
That's how I live now, because I love him. I have a relationship with him. I'm so thankful for everything that he's done in my life. I can see him. He's blessed my life so much that, you know what?
That's good.
You tell me what to do and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Obedience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You guide me. I want to hear what you have to say. It sure will.
Yeah.
My daughter,
She's yours first.
Huh?
She is his first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But she's not mine. She's his.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can't control what goes into her heart, but God, I trust you that you can.
Yeah.
And my mom's health. You know what I'm saying? You just got to trust him with all these things. And you do it
Trust
joyfully.
is the key, right? That's what breeds real obedience, is that we trust that it's the better thing for us.
Yeah, because
right?
my way is the worst.
Amen. Right.
But now
My
that
way
flows
wasn't
out.
working. Yeah.
I have been able to see that if I just let him run my life, he's got plans that are bigger than me.
Yeah.
I never thought that he would be using me to get to other people.
Yeah.
And then being obedient to him is so amazing, because when he said, I'm talking about, I felt like a brick on my chest. Boom. Sabrina, take this ministry out to the girls at the Home of Grace. I told my husband, I said, he goes, well, we're going out with Pastor David next week to eat. Why don't you tell him? Ask him. It was so easy. He said yes. They said yes. They said yes. And now, you remember when I told you I went to rehab and there was a girl that was there that I knew from the past, and she had a great husband that was a pastor, and she was working at a rehab and doing all these things. Remember I said I want what she had? I have that now.
Yeah.
I have the life that God showed me I would have when I went in rehab. When I got to rehab, he showed me a life that I wanted. And I did all the things that I was supposed to do, doing the next right thing, trusted in him, And now he's using me in so many ways.
Amen.
And it's the most joyful life ever.
Yeah.
It's the I mean, I couldn't have created my life in my head this good.
Right.
Yeah. We find our joy in our purpose.
Yeah.
Not
And that's my
in our
purpose.
things. Amen.
And I said that earlier. Everything that I've been through before is a purpose to help others.
And listen, to a fault, I'm probably very cautious of the audience out there that may not be Christian. And so what I always like to say is that excitement that we see in you, and when somebody says, my life is full of blessings, it is. I don't, listen, we're not saying that your life is going to be a bed of roses.
It's not perfect.
Right. There's challenges, there's still hills, but we see it through a different lens.
Yes,
we do.
Right? And so it's just so much
like I said with my
different.
daughter, she's 10. She's going through that preteen stuff.
Yeah.
And it's driving me absolutely crazy, but I see it in a different lens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't... I would have been a yelling mom, you know what I'm saying? But I see it through a different lens. I'm still yell sometimes. That's what I'm saying. There's still hardships, but I'm able to have a comfort with me to know that I have somebody to help guide me and to help me with her, because I put him in her hands. I put my marriage in his hands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when we got married, we braided a 3-cord, you know what I'm saying? 1 cord, 2 cords are better, but a 3 cord would never break. We braided, it was 1 cord me, 1 cord him, and 1 cord God, and we braided it together. God comes first.
Amen.
If God is first in your life, and everything else
You're right.
falls down.
Oof, Sabrina, thank you.
Thank you.
That's what a story. What a God story, right? Again, it's what he can do.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to remind people is that when we see the tears, the darkness, the remorse, as that story goes on, and then we see that change, that's those God moments. And so I just want to say, one of the things that kind of struck me, if I could summarize it a little bit, and I always get a little tongue-tied here, so I hope this makes sense, but again, my caution for those of you who may not be believers, who hear these moments, and we hear them a lot in these stories where somebody surrenders, and so you're waiting to go, okay, and then everything got good, and then we hear of the next relapse. Guys, that wasn't a false surrender. It wasn't anything. This is a tough walk. Paul himself in chapter 7 talks about the things I know I should be doing, I'm not doing, the things I should be doing, I'm not doing, the things I shouldn't be doing, I'm doing. But he comes to this truth in that wrestling match. He comes to this truth that this side of heaven, we are embodied in this stuff, and this stuff will forever crave the things of the world. The flesh is just inherently attracted to fleshly things. And so Paul says, there it is. There's my flesh is inherently attracted to this stuff, but I see this truth that my inner man, my spirit, attracted to the things of God. That leads us ahead of time to why he has to die daily, because he recognizes that in this body there is conflict. There's conflict. My flesh is pulling me one way, my spirit the other. Therefore, I have to wake up daily and die to the things of the flesh. Guys, the spiritual walk, the Christian walk, is a hard walk. But so is the addicted one. So is the lost one. Right. So, as again, Kathryn has said many times that you have to choose your hard, and you have to look to the end of that walk. Right. It's where do these walks end? If you're stuck in your addiction, you have a foreshadowing right now of where that walk is going to end. I can promise you, I don't need to know your story. I know it's getting worse. If you're stuck in your addiction, your life is getting worse.
Yes. And
period.
it's going to keep getting worse.
That's right. And it doesn't end in a brighter spot. It ends in a darker spot. If you're in recovery, you might be in a hardship right now, but your life is getting better. And it's getting better because the hardships now are teaching moments, not moments that turn me back to a darker place. Guys, we have to learn the lifestyle, right? So sometimes we surrender and we stumble because we're in that learning process. Then we have to build the lifestyle. One of the things I always tell my clients is you have to build the life that supports the lifestyle. So the mistake that many people make, and Sabrina was honest enough to talk about it, is every time she left the safety of rehab, she went into the unsafety of her old environment. She kept going back to an old lifestyle, expecting to be able to live a new life. Yep. The Bible calls that trying to put new wine into old wineskins. Guys, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to take your new life and build a new lifestyle that will support it. It can be done. If you don't know how, as Sabrina said, I don't know how, come out, ask questions, knock on church doors, go to places that are uncomfortable for you. Don't go back to the same sources and asking them, how do I live? How do I build a new lifestyle to support my new life? They're not going to know how.
They're
stuck. Right. We got to do something different. Step into the uncomfortable. Guys, Jesus loves you.
Yes.
That's the most important thing. He's waiting for you.
Yes.
He's in the darkness with you. He's in the mess with you. He's not going to leave you. But you may not answer the call. Guys, I pray that you will. I pray that you will. He won't. I promise you he's there. I promise you he's there. We love you. Jesus loves you, much more importantly. And we'll see you next time on Jesus Loves Addicts.